What's up, everybody? This is Jose Trujillo, the world's greatest living artist. Yeah, that's what I call myself. I think that name rings to, has a little ring in my heart. The world's greatest living artist has done it again. I'm driving to my studio right now. I came to drop off some paintings here at FedEx. It takes a little bit of time sometimes, but it's pretty cool. I like it. I like coming to drop paintings off. Believe it or not, it gives me a chance to get out of the studio and kind of recalibrate myself, see things slightly differently. So I was thinking about inspiration and this whole deal with being inspired, and how do we find inspiration for not just for creating artwork, but in our lives, for our careers, our goals, our aspirations, whatever that is. It might be a little difficult, or a lot difficult, depending on the situation, for a lot of people right now, finding inspiration in the middle of what we might consider a bit of chaos in the world right now, especially if you're living in countries where it's a lot more difficult, depending on, like right now, what we have been experiencing in the U.S. has made it very difficult for many people. And so how do you find that inspiration? How do you find yourself inspired to move forward, to go after some things that you have been thinking about going after, whatever that is? Your goals. Maybe you want to learn how to paint. Maybe you want to get your work out into galleries at some point, one way or another. Maybe you want to learn how to find joy in painting. A lot of people know how to paint, they just don't find any joy in painting, and I think part of that is because it's not really talked about. There's the conversation is not there. Lots of people know how to paint, but they can't find joy in painting. And so how do you find yourself inspired? How do you find inspiration? Some of the stuff I used to say a while back was, you just have to show up. It's very excuse me, almost sneeze. It's very practical to think about just showing up. All you gotta do is really just show up. It's very nonsense, very practical, right? Or not nonsense, but no nonsense, very practical. Just show up and things will start happening. That's what Picasso said, and so I took his advice, and I would just show up. But at some point in my career, I started realizing that showing up, yes, is extremely important. But it's half of the equation. And I don't mean half as in like 50% of it, because I know that when we think of half, 50% of it. No, you need 100% of one thing and 100% of something else, like all of it. And so showing up is extremely important. You got to show up. You got to do the work. Whatever. It's extremely important. Gotta put 100% of that. So there's another 100% that you got to put that is not part of the conversation when it comes to finding inspiration. And that other 100% is, people call it different things. Some people call it faith. Some people call it patience. I think Gary Vee calls it patience. I call it, I don't really have one name for it, but I look at it as as the ability to do it in a peaceful state of mind. That's all. And I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but if you show up is one thing. You can show up kicking and screaming to whatever you need to do. But if you show up with a peaceful mindset, it's a whole different ballgame. You're pretty much giving the keys to the kingdom. Showing up with a peaceful mindset, with almost an easiness to your mind, is hands down the best thing I've ever done in my career. Once I started learning that, I used to be the artist who just showed up. A lot of people can't even do that. So if you're having a hard time with that, with showing up, make sure to put in that discipline. You got to show up, regardless of how you feel. First, learn how to show up. Once you learn how to show up, there's another mountain, I guess you can call it a mountain, that you need to climb, and that is to handle this. Showing up, it just means that you're handling your physical self. You're waking up at a certain time, you're showing up, you're putting in the work, you're putting in certain hours or whatever. Whether you're learning how to paint or you're a professional artist, it doesn't matter. Either way, it's a physical thing to show up. It's very much physical. But you can show up in a very negative state and still get the work done. Hey, what's up, Tiago? Yeah, in a time-free zone. Exactly. And so, showing up by itself is a discipline in itself. But showing up, as Tiago mentioned, in a time-free zone and in a peaceful state of mind, it's a whole other ballgame. And people go after that in different ways. I know some of my mentors talk about going into it. They have to first practice yoga or meditation, or some of them are Christian, some are prayer. They go for long walks and they do prayer before, at least twice a day. A couple of walks. They go out walking, clear their mind. All of that, people do different stuff. Some people use exercise. They go running or whatever, in order to get their mind to rest. Because if the body's agitated, the mind rests. There's one way to rest your mind. If you're physically tired, you don't want to think about anything, and so your mind is at peace when you're physically tired. Or if you're doing some cardio or whatever, your mind is at rest. It's very difficult to keep both things going. Your heart rate up, and then with physical activity, not from stress, but from physical activity, and your mind racing about your problems, your stresses, whatever. It's very difficult to keep those two up. So because the body's using all the energy, it doesn't give any to the mind. See, your brain, from what I've read, the brain takes about 20, sometimes even 30, depending on the person. Very stressful people take 30%, up to 30% of the energy of the body. If you're very stressed, you take a lot of energy. Your brain takes a lot of energy. And so it's depleting you from the rest of the energy to do your work. It's taking way too much energy. And it's mental patterns, it's repetitive patterns. They're not even it's not even intelligent thinking. It's just mental patterns that are just repetitive. And so I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit of that. Hope this makes some sense. How do you find inspiration? What do you do? Well, showing up is definitely important, but showing up in a peaceful state of mind doing things that put you in a peaceful state of mind is going to propel you to a whole other level. I know that. I live that. Okay, my friends, take care. I got to get to the studio. Peace out.